Alright, what up, y'all? It's Metaphor back for more to kick the raw. Represent everyone's you and I verse. I just dropped this video, the music video for this song, I mean to say, called Cosmos, the third single off the newest album. Wake up in the morning, pockets on E. Yeah, you know, living this life ain't free. Gotta get a dollar shown, freedom ain't free. Wake up in the morning, pockets on E. Yeah, you know, living this life ain't free. Gotta get a dollar shown, freedom ain't free. Pen bleeds, freedom again. Drop science like O'Brien, flex on. Still savages, just don't see the blood packaged up. Didn't wanna make a depressing one, but the truth is more than pleasure. Now, think about Lil Wilbur, just a fellow organism. I thought we all equal. Don't step on ants, don't step on plants. I'll support our breath. Look, we cutting trees down. Do you even care? We killed everything on earth now. King of the jungle, no I don't mumble. Constant, conscious, so reckless. Enter this game to change it. I rock the poles of earth with my statements. Teacher, master, Rama with the KRS and bottom. Wake up in the morning, pockets on E. Yeah, you know, living this life ain't free. Gotta get a dollar shown, freedom ain't free. Wake up in the morning, pockets on E. Yeah, you know, living this life ain't free. Gotta get a dollar shown, freedom ain't free. Fuck up the comments, don't fuck with the drama. Hell is out as a sign to show love and we give it back. Compassion, the return is divine. True, it could be dark and hell is hot. Look, life is what you make it. No rear view on a spaceship. Yo, there be bigger than Jay-Z. Ha, ha. And that's all on me. 808 feet salivating. Soon shows worth kilos. A new being descended from the cosmos. Descended from the cosmos. From the cosmos. But let's get into it. This is the balsamic moon in Cancer with the sun in Leo. Like I said, I just dropped the music video for this song, Cosmos, the third single off the newest album, Recreation in Progress. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it, right? So we got the moon in Cancer with the sun in Leo. And with this being said, it's all about feeling comfortable on the stage or feeling uncomfortable on the stage, depending on which octave of the scale you're on. So essentially, at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and break down how either you feel comfortable in your area of life, you know what I'm saying, being on the stage, and with this moon being here, right? So the moon is all about comfortability and your reaction and responses. And the moon is at home in Cancer. So at this point in time, this is a space that you can actually feel comfortable, or you should feel comfortable. It should be a little bit easier emotions at this point in time comparatively to like a Capricorn moon or a Scorpio moon, because Capricorn is at work in the moon, and I'm saying Scorpio moon is like debilitated, so to speak. So with all this being said, at this point in time, we're also having the luminaries, right? So the moon is at home in Cancer and the sun is at home in Leo. So essentially, based on our emotions and our actions, we should feel at home at this point in time. So essentially, you're either feeling comfortable on the stage or feeling uncomfortable on the stage. So we're going to go ahead and get into the alignments, right? Which we have the moon sextile Mercury, and we also have the moon sextile Uranus, right? So the moon sextile Mercury is all about seeing the opportunity to communicate about the details at this point in time, or feeling comfortable seeing the opportunity to communicate the details based on moon in Cancer, comfortability, Mercury and Virgo, communicating the details. And then moving forward, we also have the moon, like I say, sextile in Uranus. So essentially, seeing the opportunity to be your unique and original and ground this unique and original way of being oneself. So essentially, you're feeling comfortable to ground your individuality, so to speak, or your rebellious nature. Moving forward, we also have the moon square in Lilith, right? We have the moon square in the North Node and Chiron. So at this point in time, we're going to be having a learning process with our darkest moment, or our way of relating in our darkest moment. And also with the North Node, it's going to be, we're going to learn to feel comfortable having our purpose be enacted, or bringing our purpose to the forefront, so to speak, or being in uncomfortable circumstances and situations. We're going to either learn to be uncomfortable and actually have to create growth, right? Or at this point in time, one is staying stagnant and feeling comfortable being in that stagnant space, essentially, right? Because if the North Node's in Aries, that means the south node is in Libra, right? So essentially, it's also a square to the south node. So keep that in mind. So you're either learning to be in an uncomfortable space to create growth, or you're in a space that's being stagnant because you want to continue to relate to what you're comfortable with, so to speak. So it's kind of like a tricky alignment, so to speak, whenever we have the north node being in a square to the moon. And then moving forward, we also have, like I say, the moon squaring Chiron. So essentially, at this point in time, we're going to be learning to be an individual, and based on this individuality, learn to go ahead and learn from what we've been wounded about and be able to teach that, so to speak, based on Chiron being a wounded healer that teaches and is very wise. So essentially, we're feeling comfortable being our own individual self, right? But based on this individuality, we're going to have to learn from it to how to actually benefit from it, so to speak. Moving forward, we also have the moon in conjunct Pluto, right? So at this point in time, the moon in conjuncting Pluto is going to be misunderstanding our deep transformation or feeling comfortable with the way we are reacting and responding, but also a bit of misunderstanding because at this point in time, we're going to be in a space of Pluto being Aquarius, right? Being that association. So essentially, you're either feeling comfortable transforming your circumstance situation, and you understand that at this point in time, you may not always be able to feel comfortable to actually have your transformation be a beneficial circumstance situation. So essentially, you want to transform yourself before Pluto transforms you, so to speak. So keep that in mind. And last but not least, we also have the moon trining Saturn and Neptune, right? Based on them both being water circumstances. So the moon, being in Cancer, is feeling comfortable and having the gift to restrict ourselves to achieve our dreams, Saturn. And then we also have the gift to be in an illusion or a delusion. So essentially, whatever you're in that delusion about, you have the gift to actually dream about that and put yourself in a space that you can actually feel comfortable with this dream at this point in time. And that's the gift at this point in time as well. So we're going to go ahead and break down all the rising signs. And with this being said, we're going to start off with Cancer and go all the way towards Leo, right? So first, we're going to have Cancer in the first house, or Cancer rising, ascendant. And yeah, like Cancer rising, ascendant in first house is essentially feeling comfortable in oneself or one's individuality. So you either feel comfortable being your individual self and being in a space that you could actually benefit from your individuality at this point in time, and you feel being yourself is the best thing you could be. It's like if you're in that lower octave, essentially you're in a space that you feel uncomfortable being, dealing with your individuality or your personal affairs at this point in time. And pretty much to get yourself on the higher octave, what I like to break down for the first house is essentially feel comfortable in your own skin, so to speak, and feel comfortable reacting and responding in the space that puts you on the highest octave, being that Cancer rising. And then moving forward, the Gemini rising is having the second house being in Cancer, right? And the second house is all about the values of a person, place, thing, or idea. So with this being said, you're essentially feeling comfortable with your values or your value system. And that value system is actually benefiting you at this point in time if you're on the higher octave and you're saying valuing is essentially making money. And you're saying you're making some funds off that and things like that. Moving forward, we also have the Taurus. Taurus rising is going to have Cancer in the third house, and Cancer in the third house is essentially feeling comfortable in your environment or feeling comfortable dealing with your environment this point in time on the higher octave, or on the lower octave, you're feeling uncomfortable in your environment and communicating. You're seeing the opportunity to disassociate with your environment and things like that. And also the third house is all about communication. So essentially you're feeling comfortable communicating in your environment at the higher octave, or on the lower octave you feel uncomfortable communicating in your environment at this point in time. And to get yourself on that higher octave, essentially you want to make logical sense about who's in your environment and how to actually benefit from it. And keep in mind, like I said, this is the balsamic phase. So essentially it's that last phase of shedding at this point in time, or the shedding nature, before we have the new moon in Leo. So just keep that in mind, that at this point in time, you want to actually benefit from your environment at this point in time and see who can you can work with in the future, so to speak, if you're that Taurus rising. Then moving forward, the Aries rising is having the fourth house being in Cancer, and the fourth house is all about your privacy, your home, and things close to your heart. So essentially, the Aries is going to learn to be comfortable in their home and learn to be more comfortable in their private matters, or actually have others feel comfortable with their, like you're saying, associating in your home, essentially. And you're on that lower octave, you're essentially in a space that you don't want to learn how to actually make yourself feel comfortable and others in turn. So pretty much you're in that 90-degree angle where either that pressure is benefiting you to actually put yourself in a higher octave space where those around you can actually feel comfortable. And shout out to Senor Breach. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go ahead and break down Leo last but not least. You know what I'm saying? They got Cancer in the 12th house. That'll be the last alignment that I break down. So just bear with me until I get there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody deserves their space and time and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't be the Leo that thinks you're the only one that deserves to shine. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just keep that in mind, that other rising signs also need to break down too. Moving forward, the Pisces rising is having the fifth house being in Cancer. And with this fifth house in Cancer for the Pisces, you're essentially having the gift to express your comfortability, or feeling comfortable in your expression at this point in time. And on the higher octave, you feel comfortable expressing yourself. Lower octave, you feel uncomfortable expressing yourself. You know what I'm saying? So with this being said, to put yourself on that higher octave, you want to be in a space where you can actually react and respond in a comfortable nature. Then moving forward, the Aquarius rising is having the sixth house being in Cancer, right? And that sixth house is all about your routine, pattern, your health, and your work. So essentially, the Aquarius may misunderstand a comfortable routine or the comfortability in their routine at this point in time, because Aquarius likes to be fixed, but Cancer likes to be cardinal and initiate and create. So essentially, at this point in time, you may be fixed in your own routine and pattern to a point where it actually is having you in a space that you can actually initiate and create new ways of going about your health or your routine and pattern or your work, and you're being stubborn, so to speak. So the fixed signs are a bit stubborn or consistent, right? And the cardinal signs are always initiating and creating anew. So with this new initiating and creating being that Aquarius rising, having the sixth house being in Cancer, at this point in time, you're either feeling comfortable with your routine and pattern to a point where, okay, we can shift things up based on these new emotions that are arising, so to speak, on that higher octave. And moving forward, the Capricorn rising, shout out to Magical Mermaid checking in. Moving forward, the Capricorn rising is having the seventh house being in Cancer, right? And the seventh house in Cancer for the Capricorn is all about adding on or opposing to your relationship. So essentially, you're feeling comfortable relating on the higher octave, or you feel uncomfortable relating with individuals at this point in time, and you actually want to oppose to this and things like that. So essentially, you want to shed whoever's making you feel uncomfortable relating at this point in time, being that Capricorn, since it's the balsamic phase before we have this new moon, right? And then moving forward, the Sagittarius rising is having the eighth house being in Cancer, right? And that eighth house is all about transformation, rebirth, and behind the scenes and secrets, right? Or behind closed doors. And we all know what goes on behind closed doors, you know what I'm saying? Say less, so to speak. And shout out to the kids saying say less and things like that. But yeah, essentially, you're in the space that you're having a 150-degree angle or a misunderstanding, or AKA an inconjunction. So essentially, you may misunderstand the transformation that you're either feeling comfortable with or you're feeling uncomfortable with, based on being that Sagittarius. That Sagittarius likes to just adapt to things. They don't actually want to change too much about themselves behind closed doors. They just want to be out in the forefront and actually shining to a point where they're seeming wise and knowledgeable about what's going on, you know what I'm saying, and transformation of oneself. At this point in time, you want to put yourself in a space where you can actually feel comfortable transforming those emotions, and in turn, those transformed emotions are then going to have a beneficial circumstance whenever you have the new moon in Leo be taking place in your ninth house. So essentially, you're going to feel comfortable with your experience that you're having taken action on as well. Moving forward, the Scorpio rising is having the ninth house being in Cancer. So essentially, they're having the gift to experience comfortability or uncomfortability at this point in time. Keep in mind that just because it's a trine doesn't mean it's always a beneficial circumstance situation. You may end up being in a space that is actually non-beneficial to a point that you're having the gift to experience uncomfortability. So at this point in time, you want to see what experiences you're, I'm saying, working with, and see if you need to shed this experience to then in turn make yourself feel more comfortable to actually create space for this new moon in Leo experiencing in your 10th house. And I'm saying the 10th house is all about your status, your blueprint, and what you're known for, aka your career, right? So essentially, the Scorpio is going to have to learn to work on their career and have new experiences in their career whenever they have the Leo new moon in the 10th house. But then moving forward, the Libra rising is having the 10th house being in Cancer, right? So this 10th house being in Cancer is essentially learning to feel comfortable with your status at this point in time, right? And with this being said, essentially you're going to have a sextile whenever you have that new moon in Leo. So you're going to see that opportunity based on the status that you've learned to transform, I'm saying, and learn to be more comfortable with at this point in time. I don't really mean transform to a point where you're like in that scorpionic nature where it has to be a whole rebirth, so to speak. I'm kind of saying like, is this a status that you actually want to be known for? And if you don't actually want to be known for this status at this point in time, you may need to shed what you're known for and things like that to a point where you can actually associate with different individuals whenever you have that Leo new moon in the 11th house, right? And that's for the Libra rising. And Virgo rising is having its 11th house being in Cancer, right? So essentially they're going to have the Leo new moon be experiencing the 12th house, right? So at this point in time, you're going to see the opportunity to feel comfortable with your associates or your association at this point in time being the Virgo rising. And essentially, you're going to either feel comfortable with your associates on the higher octave, or on the lower octave, you're in a space where your association is non-beneficial and you feel uncomfortable with it. And this group that you're a part of actually isn't like allowing you to make proper sense and be a detailed individual to a point where you can critique others and they can critique you and you actually are becoming better individuals. That's what the Virgo is all about. The Virgo is like so critical about themselves because they want to be better to a point where they're critical about everybody else. And with this being said, if you're not at that in that group to a point where you can actually benefit from being critical and things like that, or associate with others, other individuals that are like detailed and things of that nature, you're going to see, okay, at this point in time, these associates that I'm working with are actually making me feel uncomfortable to a point where they may be just like a fake group, you know what I'm saying? A group that like you're just acting like you're associates and you're actually benefiting from each other. But then behind closed doors and things like that, you're in a circumstance situation where you don't actually, whenever you go home and look at yourself in the mirror, you're like saying, I'm really not like everybody else. Like they not like me, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're on that higher octave, you can say they not like us, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? To a point where this associative group that you're a part of, you actually see the opportunities with feeling comfortable associating with them at this point in time. And then in turn, you're going to have these new dreams be accumulated based on your group and things of that nature with the Leo new moon, right? And last but not least, the Leo rising. Shout out to Senior Breach. You know what I'm saying? We could go ahead and break down the Leo rising having the 12th house being in Cancer, right? So the 12th house is all about your dreams, illusions, and nightmares. So essentially, you're feeling comfortable with your far out dreams to a point where it's like, I know these dreams are far fetched, but I actually can continue dreaming about them because this is really what I want to achieve, so to speak. And you also asked, what do you think the meaning of life is? Well, the meaning of life is finding your purpose and actually working with that purpose to a point where you can actually benefit others and oneself while you're working with that purpose. So essentially, if you haven't found your purpose yet, that's something you want to achieve to then in turn work with that to then achieve your dreams. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about you're a Leo rising at this point in time. You want to see, or a Leo circumstance, or a Leo placement, you want to be comfortable with your dreams at this point in time. And if you're on that lower octave, you feel uncomfortable with your dreams, you may not have any dreams at all, or dreams about like the future, so to speak. So I would say find a dream that you can actually be comfortable with going and reaching for and going to achieve. And that's the circumstance situation that you want to play out. To then in turn have the Leo being in your first house and be like, oh, I'm actually going about this vision. I'm going about this personal endeavor and things like that. So that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? The balsamic moon being in Cancer is all about clearing things out. So like the balsamic moon phase is like you're cleaning your space to a point where you can actually accumulate new things whenever whenever the new moon occurs. And keep in mind, the balsamic phase is 45 degrees before that new moon, or 45 degrees behind the sun, right? So essentially, whenever we have the previous, like for example, if we were in Libra season, the Virgo moon would be the balsamic phase, right? So essentially, it's like clearing out that space in that last house to a point whenever it actually enters in that house that you're having the sun in, you know what I'm saying, or having that new moon in, you're in a circumstance situation where you can actually accumulate new things. So yeah, you know what I'm saying, much love and holla back, you know what I'm saying. I got all kinds of readings that I offer as well if you want to email me if you're looking to get a reading. But you know what I'm saying, support the movement you need to be in tune with, you know what I'm saying? Peace and love if you believe in all that.